And we're live. Very cool. My name is Big Time, and I apparently now have a co host. Call her Wicked. Channel's Wicked and Wise. You can go check it out. We've made an arrangement to meet up every week and just talk about Blackistan. She is a member of the divested community. And today we're going to be talking about food deserts. Hope she can jump in. I'm going to be doing a little back and forth here because I kind of communicate with YouTube comments. So please bear with me. Move this down here. Just going to check real fast. Just reaching out to her now. Of course, as I'm talking, she's probably in my chat box right now. I am live. All right, so what we'll do is fix my microphone, bring this desk up a little bit. So today's topic was going to be food desert in Philadelphia, and then she was going to potentially, I think she was going to cover Chicago. So we'll get started with the presentation. And I just got a bunch of videos that I grabbed out of Philadelphia. So interject in between. See if she can jump on. If I see her in the comments or she jumps in, I got the link right there in the chat room. So let's start. As always, I'll be going back and forth while the video plays. I don't want to say fair use, but you know.
That's really a fundamental question of society. Are we helping people?
Figure we should at least start with the definition of what a food desert is, and then we'll go through there.
That's really a fundamental question of society. Are we helping people live the best lives that they can? I think people say deserts, there's nothing in a desert. That's what we commonly think of, right? And so like, oh, this is a place where there's no food. And it's really a term that came from the United Kingdom. Do you have to go like a mile from your house to get to a grocery store? In rural areas, it's 10 miles.
So white people created the term. Got it.
With food deserts, a lot of folks, starting in the early 2000s, a lot of folks like adopted this term and we wanted to work with it. And we thought, wow, this is a really useful term. We can map these food deserts. We can show policymakers.
It is a bill that has record resources for nutrition.
This became then one of the parts of the Farm Bill in 2008 with the Healthy Food Financing Initiative. And was rolled out at the national level.
Right now, there are 23.5 million Americans, including 6.5 million children, who live in what we call
Obama. Yeah.
food deserts.
Lambert is what's known as a food desert.
Food deserts.
These are often called food deserts.
The problem is, it doesn't work as well as we thought it would. It's a term that people tried to, generalize. It doesn't contextualize that space. It doesn't account for the differences in that space. It's the same in Wyoming as it is in Nebraska, as it is in Virginia. And those are wildly different kinds of contexts.
So the term has become too popular and it's used too much. And it can be used to essentially describe any situation. And it's too vague. It's too nebulous. It's essentially a platitude. Or it could just be used as a way to get funding, Is that kind of what I'm getting here? That's what it sounds like I'm getting here.
And a lot of the critics of food deserts are coming out of food deserts. And they're saying, you don't know my neighborhood. You open a grocery store, maybe people don't feel comfortable in it.
I don't need to know your neighborhood. I can just pull out Google and say store. The fuck does that mean? That's an appeal to authority. That's fucking stupid.
So they don't go, or it doesn't have their foods that they're used to and like. So they don't go, or they still can't afford it, or or they don't have a place to cook anything, so it's better for them to buy processed food. I mean, there's just a whole plethora of things that interact. Really, what we're talking about with food security in general, and thus with food deserts as well, is we're really talking about poverty. Is food available? Is it there, right? Is it affordable?
There. Poverty creates crime. There we go. Poverty. I'm going to try to present a different presentation today.
If you can afford it and it's available, how are you going to get to it? How are you going to access it? I'm not ever talking about just food. I'm talking about income distribution. I'm talking about, zoning issues. I'm talking about business investments and incentives. These are all really huge problems that we need to address.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So food desert. The definition of food desert is you live somewhere and you don't have the ability to get to healthy food. There's no stores where you live. You might live in an urban setting. You might live in a rural setting. Food desert basically now has become a blank term. A food desert can be in Wyoming or maybe the Rust Belt, or say middle of nowhere, maybe central Pennsylvania or Ohio or Utah. It can be somewhere where maybe there's a lot of farmland. There are no buses. There are no trains. There are no lights at night. You might live on a mountain. You might live in Middle Appalachia or the Rocky Mountains, and you have to physically drive miles and miles to go to a store. That's a possibility. Hey, you gotta.
Hello.
How we doing?
Hey, I am so sorry. I just, I work the third shift.
Oh, that's no problem. I appreciate you coming on. How
Okay.
was it? How was the shift? Was it okay?
Super easy. Nobody called me a bitch, so that's a plus.
Oh, well, that's good.
Okay. You'd be
That's
surprised
good.
how much I get called a bitch at work.
I used to work in a hospital. I understand.
Mm-hmm. And,
So,
go for it.
okay. Well, I appreciate you coming. Let me say thank you for one thing. And so what I did is I put together a bunch of videos in Philadelphia, and I wanted to start with first. I already played the video, but I figured we can play it again since you're back. This is what the definition of a food desert is, and then I was just going to try to present them in a couple videos in, and just get your opinion and see what you think.
Okay.
Because you're also from
Chicago.
You're also from you're from Blackistan.
I'm from
And
well,
you know.
Yeah.
I wasn't born in Blackistan, but I lived in Philadelphia, South Philly, primarily for about 16 years right before Krasner got elected, and that was during the 2016 election, and that's just when I decided it was just too much. So I figured, give a good perspective and give some commentary and just see what you think. And if you just want to jump in, just jump in. But I just put these videos and try to present them in a way so it's faster, so I'm not trying to search for it and play it.
Okay.
You ready?
Hey,
All
I'm
right, so
sitting back and watching.
All right. Please jump in at any time, or else I will.
That's really a fundamental question of society. Are we helping people live the best lives that they can? I think people say deserts, there's
And to quote DZ, fair use.
nothing in a desert. That's what we commonly think of, right? And so this is a place where there's no food. And it's really a term that came from the United Kingdom. You have to go like a mile from
So the term was invented by Zadie.
Of course.
from your house to get to a grocery store. In rural areas, it's 10 miles. With food deserts, a lot of folks, starting in the early 2000s, a lot of folks like adopted this term and we wanted to work with it. And we thought, wow, this is a really useful term. We can map these food deserts. We can show policymakers.
It is a bill that has record
Boo.
resources for nutrition.
This became then one of the parts of the Farm Bill in 2008 with a healthy food financing initiative and was rolled out at the national level.
Right now, there are 23.5 million Americans, including 6.5 million children, who live in what we call food deserts.
Lambert is what's known as a food desert.
Food deserts. These are often called food deserts.
The problem is it doesn't work as well as we thought it would. It's a term that people tried to, generalize. It doesn't contextualize that space. It doesn't account for the differences in that space. It's the same in Wyoming as it is in Nebraska, as it is in Virginia. And those are wildly different kinds of contexts.
Can I add something here?
Mm-hmm.
I think what happened was, this is my opinion, and you let me know. I think they tried to make it primarily a problem for one group of people. And then what happened is they also realized that people who live in rural settings, like on a mountain or in the middle of the Great Plains or maybe in Appalachia, have a similar problem. That's what I think. She's saying the term became very nebulous, very vague, like a platitude. And it turns out that lots of people live in food deserts. And what do you think? Or should I just say thoughts, like an email at work?
And what it was I lived in a community where there was there was not grocery stores. There was food available, but it wasn't anything decent. There was nothing nutritious. It was just garbage food. If you
Like
actually
bodegas?
wanted to get, vegetables and fruits and things like that, you had to leave the area. Now, I don't know if that's what she's talking about in other places, but in Chicago, there are definitely places that are food deserts. You have to leave your neighborhood to go get something decent to eat. I know the reason why. It's very clear. The reason why we have these food deserts is because nobody owns any stores. The people don't own any stores. The people who live in an area, they don't own any stores in the area. Other people come in and other people sell them what's cheap and available and easy. And that's what they buy. If you don't provide, but does your own community want these things? Is it a priority for your own community that you have these things? Because I've also lived in areas that were Hispanic, that they didn't have a lot of money, but they had plenty of food.
Yeah, I worked in a kitchen with a bunch of Mexicans and one Guatemalan who they all picked on. I guess he was the black Mexican. And man, they didn't eat any of the restaurant's food. Just like if you've ever been to Chinatown in Philly, a lot of the places will sell fried stuff. But if you ever get there late after midnight, you'll see all the waiters and waitresses who work there. They're always eating really fresh vegetables and really fresh made chicken and fresh fish. And they seem to eat things they don't really sell a lot of at some of the more popular restaurants. Like the Orange Duck or the Harbor Inn or Pho Cali. Even though pho is delicious. I love Vietnamese soup. It's delicious.
Well, pho is really delicious. It's really delicious. But you're right. You go to these areas and things like that. They're going to sell you the great drink and the ramen noodles $3-4, but they're not eating that crap. They're eating real food.
Yeah. All right. I think my next video will address that. Are
Okay.
you familiar? Are you familiar with Well, you'll probably know who he is.
And a lot of the critics of food deserts are coming out of food deserts, and they're saying, "You don't know my neighborhood.
That's an appeal to authority. I can Google stores where you live. That's not hard to do.
You
Mhm.
open a grocery store. Maybe people don't feel comfortable in it, so they don't go, or it doesn't have their foods that they're used to and like, so they don't go, or they still can't afford it, or or they don't have a place to cook anything, so it's better for them to buy processed food. I mean, there's just a whole plethora of things that interact. Really, what we're talking about with food security in general, and thus with food deserts as well, is we're really talking about poverty. Is food available? Is it there, right? Is it affordable? If you can afford it and it's available, how are you going to get to it? How are you going to access it? I'm not ever talking about just food. I'm talking about income distribution. I'm talking about, zoning issues. I'm talking about business investments and incentives. These are all really huge problems that we need to address.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, and when you're talking about income and food, all the cheap garbage is the processed stuff. I used to like to buy Honey Crisp apples. Do you know how expensive Honey Crisp apples are?
Yes.
It's
I like the
okay. It's insane for an apple. But if you want to get, like, I don't know, a candy bar or, some other nonsense with lots of chemicals and sugar, that's cheap. And poor people eat what's cheap.
Yeah, at McDonald's you can get 2 sandwiches for $2.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But can you get like a bowl of broccoli? How much is that going to cost?
Yeah, you would have to go to the store and you would have to buy like an entire whatever the whole big piece of broccoli is called at like
Stalk.
a Wegman stalk. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So then I have this is Thomas Sowell,
Okay.
and I know he's I know hashtag all for you ladies, but I just want to see what you had to say. What do you think?
Andrew Young's statement that blacks have been ripped off by stores run by Jews, Koreans, and Arabs has been rightly criticized, and he has apologized. But these irresponsible remarks have wider implications than Andrew Young, and wider implications than their political repercussions. For decades, one of the biggest blind spots of most civil rights leaders and spokesmen for the black community has been their utter lack of knowledge of economics. As a purely factual matter, prices do tend to be higher, and the quality of service and products lower in stores in low-income neighborhoods. But the knee-jerk assumption that this represents exploitation or racism ignores the economics of the situation. Many of the ghetto stores charging high prices are struggling to survive, while supermarkets in other neighborhoods are very profitable, charging lower prices. There are many reasons for this. The reason least likely to be acknowledged by those who blame the store owners is that crime, shoplifting, vandalism, and riots have raised the costs, both directly and by causing insurance rates and the costs of security to be higher in ghetto neighborhoods. The costs of delivering goods to small neighborhood stores are also higher than the costs of delivering goods to huge supermarkets. Delivering 100 cartons of milk to a supermarket is cheaper than delivering 10 cartons of milk to each of 10 local stores scattered around town. Selling a customer $50 worth of groceries in a supermarket takes less time than selling 10 customers $5 worth of groceries in a little neighborhood store. Faster turnover is one of the keys to a supermarket's lower prices. A supermarket can prosper with 1 cent of clear profit on each dollar of sales because that dollar comes back to be reused again and again in the course of a year. If the inventory of a supermarket sells out in 2 weeks, that 1 cent comes back 26 times in the course of a year. This means that a penny of profit on a dollar from each sale becomes more than a quarter on a dollar annually. Few local stores can match that. Not only are the delivery and overhead costs of the local store likely to be higher, the slowness with which its inventory turns over means that even higher prices may not fully compensate for such differences. The cumulative effect of such cost differences is that prices are often higher and at the same time profit rates lower in poor neighborhoods. One of the factors limiting what a ghetto store can charge is that many ghetto residents already shop in other neighborhoods when the price savings are enough to cover bus fare or taxi fare. Every increase in prices risks losing still more customers. Many of the same black leaders who accuse local store owners of making exorbitant profits also complain that supermarkets seldom locate in ghetto neighborhoods. Do they think supermarkets are against making money if ghettos are so profitable? The poor quality of many goods and of the service in ghetto stores is also a result of what has happened in these neighborhoods over the years. My niece, living in the same Harlem neighborhood where I grew up in the 1940s, often complained of rude service and bad quality goods, as well as their high prices, complaints that were not at all what I experienced growing up in that same neighborhood. There were far more stores back in the 1940s, and it would have been financial suicide for any given store to treat its customers the way ghetto stores can get away with treating them today. What happened in between? Ghetto riots happened, beginning in the 1960s. Many stores that were looted or burned out in those riots never reopened, nor were
That looks like Philly. That might be the '66 riots with Rizzo. What Columbia Avenue used to be. Now I think it's Cecil B. Moore.
many other people ready to come in from outside to replace them, nor were local residents. People who have
And I'll be fair, I still blame a lot of the shit in Philly what happened in the 50s and 60s when they got rid of all the textile mills and everything. So I think that's when the city took a big hit.
neither the efficiency nor the courtesy to compete with other stores in middle-class neighborhoods can survive running ghetto stores because of the lack of competition. Many black leaders and spokesmen who romanticized ghetto riots as uprisings against oppression are now displaying their ignorance of both history and economics. Those ghetto residents who had nothing to do with those riots are still paying the price.
Thoughts?
Well,
Now, a look at
also, there's another thing about that they need to talk about.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Back
right.
in the 50s, even the 60s, you had a lot of black people who did own their own businesses, grocery stores, and everything in those neighborhoods. But there was a turnover. And it happened pretty much after 1968. There was a turnover. The older people started dying out, and their kids did not want to take over the businesses. And so in these neighborhoods, suddenly you went from having a lot of these, black grocery store owners or, whatever business owners, they weren't there anymore. Their kids didn't want to do it. And then other people came into the neighborhoods and, operated their stores. Really, it was so sudden. It was like within a generation, you had all of these black people that just said, to hell with it, and we're gone. And then people came in and, and opened up their stores. And and the prices rose and everything happened. And then you started having these food deserts.
What would you attribute to the phenomenon of the children not wanting to contribute to the owning the store? I'm sure that destroyed a lot of what you call as generational wealth. So why do you think it was the kids didn't want to take over the business?
It was a shift. It was a shift in the culture. A shift happened in the culture where Jim Crow. This is how I'm going to explain it for Chicago. Now I can't say this happened in other places, but this is what
for sure.
Chicago. Okay, I got a pretty good grasp on it over here. The culture changed. Jim Crow ended. Those who could left the hood. Those who, for whatever reasons why, didn't want to leave the hood, or they were just basically the dregs of society, stayed right there. They didn't want, some of the Black people didn't want to operate businesses in the hood anymore after the riots. And after, like I said, when they could leave, they left. And who was left behind? And the ones who were left behind were inadequate to the task. And the culture changed. Suddenly it was this whole thing of entitlement. Give us, give us, give us. When before it was, just give us a chance to work for it and we'll do it ourselves. Now it was give us, give us, give us.
So it went from we can to we can't.
It went from we can to we want you to give it to us.
Hmm. And if I could ask, because in case someone ever watches these, what year were the riots in Chicago?
In 68, when King died.
Right, Emma, right. Was it in Chicago? I
Yeah.
thought he died at.
No. He died down south. Did he die in Memphis? I don't know. Someplace.
Yeah, I thought it was in Tennessee.
But the riots in Chicago, we had massive riots on the west side of Chicago that they have never rebuilt that neighborhood. Never.
West Side?
The west side, they tore the
West
west
side.
up, and they tore up certain neighborhoods in the south side too. But they really tore the west side up, and the west side hasn't been rebuilt in 50 years. And Chicago is a huge, vibrant city with a lot of money. You know, my friends and I, we say it all the time. If you can't make it in Chicago, that's because you're just lazy. Because we make money here.
I appreciate that. All right. What did you think of so that was Thomas Sowell, and
Well,
he is a conservative economic.
I think that he's right when he says that a lot of these Black people don't understand. They don't understand economics. They don't understand business. They really, really don't. They're not educated on it, nor are they willing to learn. You know, there's a huge problem with the Black community, with these Black men who don't build shit. They don't lead and they don't build. But
Well,
not only don't they lead, they don't build, but they destroy.
okay, now the next two videos I want to show you, I tried to find what you ladies call a zaddy, and then I found a Dusty, who both built something in Philadelphia. And I want to show, they each get like, they each have a video segment. One is from the Dusty was from 2021, and the Zaddy was from 2016. So I'm going to show you both videos, and then I'll ask you your opinion. This is the Zaddies first, and then it'll be the Dusty. Are you ready?
Okay, no.
All right, I appreciate it.
At food deserts, underserved communities that lack access to fresh
And this guy's from Philly, and his father's from Philly, and his grandfather's from Philly. So
food. Economics correspondent Paul Salmon examines how one grocery store chain has devised a different business model to address the problem. It's part of our weekly series, Making Sense, which airs every Thursday on the NewsHour.
Fourth-generation Philadelphia supermarket owner Jeff Brown is a hands-on CEO.
Is everything all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
With customers and employees alike.
Miss Ivana just showed me some things that I can get better in.
Brown has become renowned for doing the seemingly impossible.
what do you think of this interaction right here?
Look at him.
This guy tells the story. You'll get a chance to hear this guy. I've
Okay.
showed this to other people. They thought this guy was being house N.
Clearly.
That's the term they used.
Clearly. Look how
But I want
subservient it is. Look at the body language.
Well, let me play the whole video and I'll ask you.
Okay.
He operates 7 profitable stores in food deserts, low-income neighborhoods where supermarkets have long since feared to tread. Bus driver Kevin Griffin thought it can't happen here.
We've been waiting for this a long time in this area.
This area is the Nicetown Tioga section of North Philly, known for its shuttered factories, not
And this is past Temple. This is the hood. This is North Philly.
its supermarkets, since there hasn't been one here in over 20 years. Lonia Cameron's family has lived here much of that time.
This is the first place that's been so well stocked. The produce, the meats, everything is so fresh.
This property was an abandoned, unappetizing tasty cake plant until grocer Jeff Brown came around.
When we looked at the real estate to come here, there were no other interested parties.
None.
None.
Others saw the lone and level sands of the food desert. Brown saw the chance to build an oasis.
I saw 75,000 people with no grocery store.
But how to succeed in a business that traditionally lost about 4 cents on every dollar's worth of sales? By really trying everything, going for tax breaks, government and foundation grants, even getting a new bus stop in front of the store.
So SEPTA built a stop. That's insane. The Torresdale, yeah, Cotman Avenue. Yeah, that's way up in North Philly. That's almost at the edge of yeah.
Public-private partnerships like these offset costs by about 2.5 cents for every dollar of sales. Add an extra 2.5 cents, and you wind up with a 1 penny profit margin, like most supermarkets. Brown makes that extra 2.5 cents by catering carefully to local tastes.
I think this is an interesting example of our business model. Understand our customers come from the South. They like sweet potatoes. Figure out the right items. It's like half of the bakery business in this store.
Religiously sanctioned meats for the neighborhood's many Muslims.
This is our halal meat room. It's a completely separate meat room, and the imams in the area have been involved with the selection of our vendors.
Imported ingredients for its immigrants.
Fufu flour. Fufu flour is big among Western Africans.
Brown's mantra, if you stock it, they will come. And there's another motivation here as well. Health via nutrition.
If you don't have it, they don't come here. If they don't come here, they don't benefit from your fresh foods.
Like produce, bountiful here, rarely, if ever, found in the desert. Since lower obesity and less diabetes are the goals, there's fresh seafood. Instead of fried chicken, Brown's House Grilled is heavily promoted. And thin sliced beef, because it fills the plate, cuts the calories, cuts the cost.
This is a $10 challenge. We're going to stretch $10 today.
An on-site nutritionist, Ruby D. Davis, demonstrates how to eat well cheaply.
Oh, we're in luck today. Cabbage is 69 cents a pound. So this is something that you can choose a nice cabbage, probably about 2 pounds or more, and you would be able to stretch your dollars that way. Let's look at the bananas. The bananas are 59 cents a pound.
Of course, her lessons are up against a host of distractions.
Employment issues, just not having enough money to buy food. They're dealing with grandchildren, taking care of them. They're just dealing with a lot of other issues, and they just feel like nutrition is not at the top of your list right now.
But the store is trying to put it there.
How long have you had this headache? Like 3 days.
There's also a walk-in clinic where the uninsured can see a nurse practitioner.
Anything you see, anything you want to add, you just want to keep going.
You know what? I'm just looking at the way this guy is running that store, and this guy is on point. He knows who his customers are.
So, registered dietitian. This is a
Yeah.
nurse. This is a nurse practitioner. It keeps going.
Okay.
Practitioner for
This guy brought the programs.
$20
Right.
with just a short wait can access an on-site pharmacy.
So one other person is in your household that's claimed by you, right?
Yes, my son.
An in-store social worker helps customers apply for public benefits. There's even a credit union with no minimum deposit on your account, free check cashing instead of the typical high-fee alternatives in low-income neighborhoods, and a low-cost bill payment service.
Oh my God, he built a local bank. He built a fucking local bank. Oh my God.
He's
But
building
what's
real
most important to the
infrastructure.
community, says Democratic Ward Leader Mark Green,
Now here's your black city councilman. Here's what he says.
are the 300 new jobs here.
He gave them jobs.
This location has provided full-time employment for a lot of guys. It changes your life because now you have gainful employment. You can provide for your family. You can take care of your children. You can support your wife. You can pay your rent. You don't have to sell drugs. You don't have to be on the corners anymore. You won't become a recidivist.
This was my first shot, my first job ever. I never had a job before.
41-year-old Anthony Jackson spent half his life in jail.
I've been incarcerated for numerous crimes, drug possession, firearms violation. I had a lengthy criminal background past. I couldn't get a job anywhere. I tried to get a job at a Wendy's, a McDonald's, fast food restaurants. Nobody gave me a call back.
But Brown did. 6 years later, Jackson is now a frozen foods manager, making over $50,000 a year.
I'm not the same guy I used to be. I'm off of parole. I'm off of probation. All I do now is work. So I'm trying to climb this ladder of success.
But really, success when so many of the jobs are low wage?
This is a stepping stone. This is not going to solve all the problems.
What do you think about that? Now I understand that 6 years. I understand that starting $50,000 wasn't the salary, but now that guy's the manager, and it sounds like he had an extensive criminal background, but this guy still gave him a job. So, what do you think about what they're saying?
Okay, look, that guy was a predator on the community for how many years, right? And so here this guy looks past all of that and gives him an opportunity to get a job, even if it's minimum wage. And he proved his worth and worked his way up. So now he's making about $50,000, which, you know what, I don't know how that kind of money stretches over there, but $50,000 is not bad.
Yeah.
And it's a hell of a lot better than him being in jail.
Or robbing his people.
And thank you, and destroying the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
or selling drugs and destroying your neighborhood.
And it took Zaddy to come into the neighborhood to do it.
It's an entry-level position. It provides employment. It does fill a void, but it's not the total answer.
Nor is it the total answer when it comes to nutrition. In fact, according to a study published last year in Health Affairs, the opening of a supermarket in another Philadelphia food desert did not lead to changes in fruit and vegetable intake or lower body mass index. But it wasn't his store, and Brown is undeterred.
But isn't that a personal choice, though? Or is that money?
It is. You know what?
Or is it
Because
both?
you know what? It's amazing how many people just did not grow up eating well and know nothing about good nutrition.
Yeah.
So sometimes even when you offer it to them, they're not interested because they've never ate it. They've never had it. You know, how many people have never had a Honeycrisp apple who really can't tell you the difference between different types of apple? All they know is, yeah, okay, this one's red, this one's green, and this one's yellow.
Yeah.
They don't know. So they eat garbage because they grew up on garbage, because that's also part of the culture.
And that's what their parents eat, and they mimic their parents. So it recycles. It cycles.
The only time they eat vegetables is if maybe they eat, a pot of greens.
Or maybe if they go to a school or a college where maybe they're around other people who might show them something like that, right?
Right.
No, that's something I've heard. My mistake. Please go ahead.
No, I was saying it's just not part of the culture to eat that way.
I know stories of athletes who go to Division I colleges, and usually they'll. I have to send you the story. It's a basketball player from Florida State, and his first black girlfriend. She would laugh at him because he always wanted to eat fried food, and she said, "You're gonna die. You need to have a salad." Funny story.
No, it's true. It's
The customers in this
it's
area-
very, very true. Let's listen.
Yeah.
Had no way to buy any produce at all before. And now we sell the same amount of produce we sell in a suburban store. So I would have to believe their diet has changed because they're not rich people. And if they allocated their resources more towards fresh fruits and vegetables, I would think their diet changed.
And in America's food desert, says Brown, there are a lot of not rich people going unserved.
I think we're short about 1,000 supermarkets. There's 25 million people that live without a grocery store today. They don't have a practical means to get to one.
Of course, Brown isn't the only retailer to see opportunity in the desert. Whole Foods is expanding into inner city Detroit and Chicago. Wow.
And that's the Whole Foods in Inglewood that just closed down.
Right.
And two things I wanted to point out about this video I really liked. And again, please, any feedback. Where is it? They showed, so this guy makes, was it 2.5 cents or 5 cents for every dollar?
One
They
cent.
said, they said
they said like, between like, the investments and the subsidies and everything,
Are you going to play it again? If we can hear it again?
yeah.
Because I think he said he was trying to sell sweet potato cakes.
$3 of sales. Add an extra 2.5 cents, and you wind up with a 1 penny profit margin, like most supermarkets.
That's insane.
Brown makes that extra 2.5 cents by catering carefully to local tastes.
Smart.
And he has the halal for the Muslims, and he has the ingredients for the immigrants, for the West African immigrants or the Caribbean immigrants. And also one other thing you notice. Black nutritionist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, black nutritionist.
He's got the nursing.
Yeah, nurse practitioner. Yeah. Black social worker, black pharmacist. Well, I don't know. That might be I can't tell. But black social worker. I can't see back there.
But remember, he's also got the banking. He's got the banking going on.
Yeah.
He's got a place where they can easily pay their bills instead of being ripped off at the currency exchanges.
Yeah, or they have those predatory places where they'll give you money that one day, and then the next day they'll up you like 50%.
And it took Zaddy to come into the neighborhood to do this, to execute this, to have the vision to execute it.
Okay, now so I wanted to give you that. Now that was 4 years before Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is a guy, this is a Dusty. I'm not trying to use the correct terms, so make you feel welcome. So this is from Vice. And this guy, to a certain extent, I do respect what this guy did, but how it's presented here, well, I mean, you tell me.
The way I would characterize North Philly now is a neighborhood in flux. We have a lot of unemployment. We have a lot of violence. We live in a food desert. For me, a vacant lot in a food desert, in a neighborhood of people who've been abused and bullied and traumatized, to me, that's a beautiful canvas.
I'm Stevie Van Horn, and I'm a climate and social justice activist.
I already never want to talk to you for the rest of my life. If that's how you introduce yourself to me, I'm good.
We're here at North Philly Peace Park to join Tommy Joshua and the Peace Park volunteers, who are on a mission to provide healthy, accessible food for their neighborhood. So tell me, what is Peace Park?
Peace Park is a neighborhood hub for education, for food, and for crucial mutual aid.
So when did you start Peace Park?
Formally, the Peace Park started February 26, 2012, and it just started with calling a meeting of my friends, my comrades, my neighbors, and we got together. We started cleaning up. We loved each other's company. We appreciated the impact. The neighbors appreciated it. So we figured out, let's just keep on meeting.
Yeah.
And that was how the Peace Park got started. The Peace Park seeks to intentionally address critical needs of the community, right? Can the folks in the neighborhood come together and decide their own priorities?
Because all this is in the same family, the kales, the collards, the broccolis, even cabbage, that's part of the same group. We want people to see stuff go into the ground as seeds, grow over a period. We want to teach them how to harvest the plants, be with the plants, cook the plants, and all of that good stuff.
Access to healthy food, creating jobs, food distribution, all of this contributes to the recovery of the spirit of the community that has been so crushed by centuries of trauma. I mean, just a simple lesson of...
What do you think of the words he's using?
You know what? I swear to God, that's just annoying to me. Centuries? Because no, it wasn't centuries. Look, I swear, it's frustrating for me because how long ago was slavery?
And well, different states ended at different times.
Yeah, I know, but in general, how long ago was slavery? And yeah, we had Jim Crow, and yeah, we had a lot of stuff going on. But you know what? We had a lot of hardworking Black people that were doing it themselves. The culture changed. It's like they don't understand that there was such a shift in the culture. They just want to keep reaching back to, oppression, oppression, oppression. They don't want to look and see what actually happened in their lifetime, in real time, where they changed the culture, where instead of being oppressed by outside forces, they began to destroy their own community and oppress themselves.
So self-destruct.
That's exactly what happened.
Look, if a bunch of people go into an empty lot and they start growing food and they clean it up,
well, that's nice.
Yeah, like I respect people like that. I respect that. Like you took something and you created something from something that wasn't there. And I respect that. I do. But to me, it's the presentation. And I'll just keep playing. So what I got from this video was Black people be magic.
Planting a seed. That's a lesson for life. A seed just can't be thrown anywhere. It has to be planted in a place that's conducive to its development. And then it takes time. Time. So you learn patience. You learn how to focus. But most importantly, you learn how to care.
I mean, basically, that's just a community garden, right? The other guy's like got a whole infrastructure vision. And this guy's just helping you plant like a little community box garden. I don't put, I'm not putting him down. I'm just saying that's a nice little hobby to have, and you're going to clean up a vacant lot. But you got bigger fish to fry than just a little plot that you can grow some kale. You got a whole big issue with, look at the community behind that man, that he's got the garden planted in. Look at the community. I hope they brought us some new soil, because that soil is garbage.
Yeah, they don't really go into how that's some of the things I don't like. They don't talk about the money. They don't talk about where they're getting the food. They don't talk about how they did it or when they did it, just that they did it. I also find it sus when he said, all right, if he's the kind of person who can come forward and take an empty lot and then start growing food and go, this is something we have to do ourselves. When he then brings up the centuries of oppression, do you think he's just doing that because he's on TV?
I think that there is a script that they like to follow. And that's part of the script.
I understand that the ladies on the panel would attack this guy for his hair and everything and all that other stuff. And I'm not trying to do that. You can. Again, I give respect to a person who cleans up something and creates something, but I wish they would go a little more into like the plans, the prices, the cost, what they do. Do they volunteer? Because that to me could be more of a blueprint for other people to follow suit. Like, hey, these other people started growing a garden over here, but it doesn't seem like they want to do that. It seems like they just want to keep perpetuating this, like you said, a script, like as though somehow he's facing some sort of oppression that he's not allowed to grow the garden. You know what I mean? Like, and I think what you said is correct. The only people who would stop you from growing this garden would be people who come in and steal from it or destroy it.
And I'm like, he's going, we have community gardens here, like for people who want to do that kind of thing, and like, to rent the plot is very, very cheap. And then you go do your own thing. Sometimes you have to bring in your own soil, and they have places where you can say, okay, I need like X number 100 pounds of dirt, whatever because, the soil in cities is garbage. It's all polluted, and you grow fresh vegetables in garbage soil. So good luck with that. We have that here, but you're not going to feed the community. You're going to have like, a little bit of a harvest for each person who wants to grow something. This is not even gentleman farming. This is just like, it's not even a backyard farming for real. You're not going to get very much out of it. It's more like, okay, it's just hobby, a little hobby, for somebody who wants to do, grow a little bit. And that's all you're going to grow. It's just a little bit. I mean, you're not going to do anything for the neighborhood for real. You're just going to give a couple of people a hobby.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, my folks own 22 acres in UP, Michigan. We had a garden that was about half the size of a city block. Wow. Our neighbors were pig farmers. I lived out in rural areas. I know what I'm talking about. It's more to it than just a little hobby, to feed yourself. The other guy's thinking big. This guy's cleaned up, he's cleaned up a lot. Probably the lot didn't cost him very much money to purchase. However he built everything on there didn't cost very much. I'm sure they got some kind of grant.
Yeah, plywood and dirt. Yeah, a grant. Yeah, they don't talk. They don't. Yeah, that's it. They don't talk about how he did it.
Yeah.
If they would mention, like, that's what I mean. There doesn't seem to be a message of, hey, these 10 people do this, and we're talking to this group, and they're going to build it over here, and then it's going to get bigger, and now we have 10 lots, because that could easily happen.
Yeah, it could, and it would be great if it did, because look at how many of these neighborhoods have these, nasty little empty lots.
Yeah.
I mean, it would do so much to, it would do so much to improve urban living.
Yeah, because if a bunch of these people, like, if a community wants to get together and grow food, I'm sure they can find other people who want to do the same thing. Sure. And it would address it in that perspective. Let me keep going.
And these lessons that we learn in the garden, they travel back to our households and to our communities.
Over 40,000 lots lay vacant in Philadelphia, and it's estimated that between 25 to 45% of Philadelphians are unable to meet their basic needs. I wanted to understand Peace Park a bit better in this cultural context, so I sat down to talk with Maya Thomas, a local historian, about North Philly. So can you tell us the history of the neighborhood a little bit?
North Philadelphia had a really vibrant community in the 1930s and 40s. You had all these jazz musicians, artists like Doc Thrash, John Coltrane. After the 40s, after the 50s, you have the time where lots of African Americans are traveling up from the South. And then in the 60s, you have organizations like PHA, the Philadelphia Housing Authority, who are building the projects that kind of concentrated poverty in this neighborhood.
What do you think about what you said right there?
Well, yeah.
The city built projects which concentrated poverty.
Well, when they built the projects originally, the projects were a big step up from a lot of the places they were living at. And a lot of these people were living in, what they call tenement housing. Mm-hmm. These houses were garbage. And so when they built the projects originally, the projects were a big step up, and they didn't build the projects originally for poor people.
You're talking about Cabrini Green.
Yeah, Cabrini Green, Algier Gardens, all the different places in Chicago. I don't know. I don't want to generalize to the rest of the country, but that was what was happening in my community when they built them. Really, it was really for working families. But what happened? The men pulled out. The women and the kids were left behind. The Dusties came in. And the projects that once were like a great step up for a lot of people became hell on earth. And no, nobody had any room for gardens or anything like that. You were lucky to have a house plant or two. So it's nice that if you can find like a spot to have some greenery, that's fantastic, especially if you live in a city.
Yeah.
But like I say, that doesn't take care of what actually happened to the neighborhoods and why the neighborhoods declined the way they did.
like PHA, the Philadelphia Housing Authority, who are building the projects that kind of concentrated poverty in this neighborhood. And so that decimated the community in the sense that there's no food here. In the city of Philadelphia, there are a lot of vacant lots. In 2016, when PHA came in for the redevelopment plan, there were nothing but cross signs all over, looking like headstones, actually, of evictions and notices. It was a very, very sad time.
So then when Peace Park came, how did that shake up everything in the neighborhood?
You're talking about an organization who's coming in to say, look, there's no stores here, there's no resources here, and this is what I'm doing for my community. Having an alternative to say, this is our space and reclaiming it. If there's no grocery store to provide fresh groceries for folks, to actually grow that stuff, to know where your food comes from, to go across the street and learn things about how to grow food. It's really, really powerful for a kid that's growing up. A lot of activism took place here at this park to keep it where it is. And so for anyone that's out there that's trying to do the same thing, I think that you can.
I wish you would go further into that. Like,
Yeah, and show how, right? How can you do this on these other vacant lots?
Yeah, she said a lot of activism went into this park. And I'm like, the Whole Foods in Englewoods was sold for $1. What does that mean? Activism to what? It's a vacant lot that they probably could. I just wish they would explain how. It seems like they don't want to explain how they did this. Like it was this monumental task, and that it's so impossible. It's like, no, they can do it. This is all plywood. This is all 2x4s they probably bought from the Lowe's on Columbus Boulevard. This is soil they probably got from, I don't know, Frank's or probably Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't like, what does that mean? The activism to do what? To start, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm like, what kind of tremendous activism did it take to get an empty lot, some plywood, some 2x4s and some dirt? I mean, it wasn't like they were inoculating children from, like, I don't know. I'm like, you did a good thing. You didn't cure cancer. You just took a vacant lot and you structured it so people could have like little hobby gardens.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which again, I think if they could get like 10 or 20 or 30 of these,
yeah,
that would be amazing. And now they could start hiring people, and they could start, there just doesn't seem to be any plan to make it bigger. I feel like that's the lack of foresight I'm not seeing. Like, hey, we did this great thing. How do we make it bigger? What's the next level?
There's no, what did that one guy say? The economist, he was saying that black people, would he say black people? Did he poor people? I don't know what he said. Sometimes it's the same.
Ghetto residents.
The ghetto. I love it when he said ghetto.
Well, he's from Harlem.
Ghetto. Okay.
Right.
But the ghetto residents and stuff, that they just don't have a grasp on economics and business. How do you expand it beyond just that little, lot? And I don't see the vision. Like you said, where's the vision to expand this? It's like they did this and they're spent. They're like, whoo, we did it.
Yeah. There's no way this guy could not go down to Temple University and ask for help. There's no way. They'd help him.
Oh yeah. This would be look, this guy can make a living doing this. Do you know that most of the money, now I could be wrong because I haven't seen these statistics for a while, but they were saying most of the money that is distributed for people on welfare, most of that money goes to all of the workers. The economy of charity is a great moneymaker for a lot of people. They're going to help you, but in the meanwhile, while they're helping you, they're going to make a good living off of it. And so there are people out there who will give him a grant, because they can raise money. They can do a lot of stuff. The money is there. The grift is there. Yeah. If that's what you want to do. But I think that these people seem like, you know what, they had a good idea, they executed it, and they don't want to look any further. They don't want to expand that vision to actually do real things in their neighborhood beyond the one lot.
Yeah, like this is. I mean, I think a simple idea could just be, okay. Like, let's say they're growing arugula here. They could say, well, why can't each lot just grow one vegetable or one fruit, and then that way they have more that they could grow. I don't know.
They're not thinking like that. Like I said, these are like little hobby garden boxes. That's all they are, little hobby garden boxes. They're not actually trying to feed the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You can definitely put your blood, sweat, and tears behind it.
So right here you have our wonderful peach tree.
Yep.
That provides us with the most delicious, most succulent peaches in the summertime. And in order to get the real sweet ones, you got to go up. You got to go up and top. But we in a competition with the birds because the birds also like them sweet peaches. But we got peach trees, we got apple trees, we got cherry trees. We have a lot of blueberries. We have figs. Us living in a food desert, our response should be to look at it as an opportunity to transform it into abundance. That's the Peace Park's motto.
And what is the food desert?
Food desert is an interesting phenomenon. It's a place where people live, but there's no good food. The Peace Park has been a source for healthy produce year round. Does that feel good? Does that feel good?
No, it really does.
Does
feel
that
good.
feel like natural?
So food seems to play a huge role in Peace Park. Can you tell us more about that aspect?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that because food is the foundation. Food is the catalyst, right? You think about it. If
Ready for this?
if you hungry, you don't feel well. If you don't feel well, you're not thinking well. If you're not thinking well, you're making poor choices. Poor choices lead to poor outcomes. Poor outcomes lead to unnecessary destruction. Let's flip it. If you're eating good, you're feeling good. If you're feeling good, you're thinking good. If you're thinking good, you're making smart choices. Smart choices lead to smart outcomes. Smart outcomes lead to paradise. So it all comes back to food. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I totally agree.
So our director of wellness, Lavinia, she is the first revolutionary that I have met that has.
What do you think of that term?
Revolutionary.
That's what he said. She's the first revolutionary. I'm not really sure what a garden has to do with a revolution. What do you think
Yeah,
about-
I'm like, okay, where's he going with that? But you know what? It's part of the language. It's part of the language to bring you in.
Yeah. I mean, I never heard that term with what'd you say, Zaddy, with Jeff Brown, the guy with the ShopRite. He just said, nah, we gotta give people food and, you know, a doctor and nutritionist and check cashing and
has made
300 jobs.
healing a major talking point.
Recordings just got.
And this is where we get into the magic. What do you think of this imagery?
I don't think much of it. I don't think much of it.
One of the things that we did was create a survey.
Here's the revolutionary.
Do you feel like you have enough access to fresh fruits and vegetables? What illnesses or diseases do you have or do people in your family have? How often would you say that you're happy or sad? Do you suffer from anxiety? Do you suffer from depression? They said they don't have access to enough fresh fruits and vegetables. So even for us making those connections and understanding that food.
What do you think of this woman's reaction every time? She's always like blown away and she's, oh, wow. And
she's amazed.
Yeah.
So even for us making those connections and understanding that food is tied to your wellness, once we begin to address that, you'll see a change in the community. You see nature, you see flowers, you see people working together.
You have to be realistic about what has transpired in the United States. People from all different corners of the earth, but particularly Africa and India, were shifted into the Americas to establish and sustain agriculture on land that Europeans did not find easy to toil. The roots of agriculture and people of color is very, very significant. Food scarcity ties into that, because if you don't have access to food, then you starve. So we have to look at these things, these poverty as far as mental wellness is concerned.
It starts with the soil, start with the seeds, but in many ways, the emotional and spiritual food that we provide is more important than the physical food. That's what we are building here at the Peace Park. Each one of these little nodes that you see can possibly be fruit.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
To feed a community.
Exactly.
That's the most amazing
Right.
thing.
That better be
spending
the
2
apple that
days at Peace
Jesus
Park.
blessed in.
I can't say anything because when I go to the range, I would be the kind of person who, if someone was breaking into my home, I would say a prayer. Please let my aim be true. You know what I mean? So I can't say anything. So if that's what he believes, I'm okay with that. It's just the presentation. I'm like,
I came to understand that sustainability doesn't only start with good environmental practices, but with a community making sure its members are nourished, mind and body, with good, healthy food.
I think one of my favorite parts about this whole thing is that you guys acknowledge the past and you guys acknowledge the history, but more so you're looking towards the future. What can you tell us kind of for the future of what you want Peace Park to be?
I do believe there would be a Peace Park in every neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not only in Philly, but all over the country, and we would dare to say perhaps all over the world. We can use the lens of pointillism. So these little peace parks situated in these different neighborhoods are actually the dots of a new revolutionary democracy in America.
see, there it is again. New revolutionary democracy.
Okay. Sorry, but I don't get it because, like I said, I was born here in Chicago. My folks moved us to the country. Then they moved further up into the country. So I know all about growing food, and it's not revolutionary, it's necessary. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of these people have gotten so far away from it, they think a damn houseplant is a miracle.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a farmer. I'm not an economist. Okay, I'm not even a business person. But I understand that those little peace parks, that's nice for a handful of people.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's good for a handful of people.
It would take a community to fix the community.
Yes. And look, that's a lovely thing that they're doing. I don't put it down. I don't knock it at all. But your problems are a whole lot bigger than that.
Well, this next video is unfortunate. Do you want to see what happened to Zaddy's store?
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Well, let's see how they done tore it up and stole everything.
And I guess I'll ask real fast. What did you think about the comparison between? What did you think about the two videos? The Zaddy was on PBS and Dusty was on Vice.
You know what? The Zaddy was on PBS because he's doing something large and meaningful. The Dusty that was on Vice. I'm going to say something, and you know what? Let me get my words right, because I don't want you to get censored. The way that woman is looking at him, it's almost like how a teacher would look at a special needs child that actually managed to do something basic that another kid would do. Like, oh, look at you. You learned how to grow a cabbage. Oh, the world,
Liberals are the real racists. Liberals are the real racists. This is what Malcolm X was
it's
saying.
the condensation. It's the, our expectations of you are so low that when you do something so limited and basic, we're going to clap and we're going to pat you on the head. Look at her smiles. It's like the way you would smile at like a 5-year-old. Oh, honey, you wiped your butt good. Oh,
Jesus. I think it could be. I think it's a possibility because he could easily get 100 people.
Yes.
He could easily go to Temple University or UPenn or Drexel, and UPenn and Temple are wokety woke, and he could get students to volunteer, and they could make that a year-round thing. He could
rack up,
but it could be a grift, but he could grow food for his community.
He could
bring attention to it. Look, we cleared 25 lots, and now I own a business, and now I have that's how shit starts. Anything can start
but there's no ambition there to do that. I did this one thing, and so I'm going to sit and rest on my laurels for doing this one thing instead of actually expanding it. Where is the vision? There is none. When you told me that you had the video of the Zaddy and then the Dusty, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at the Zaddy with this incredible supermarket that is serving so many needs. Wonderful.
I have a Dusty who opened a grocer. I have a Dusty who opened a grocery store, but there's a lot of. I have that video.
They just opened liquor stores, not even liquor stores. I just thought they opened stores for gym shoes.
I'll tell you what. I do have two other people. I have these two Indian girls who started community fridges that are now all over Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
They just started putting refrigerators all over Philly, and they just stock them with food.
Yeah.
They just do that, and it took, but again, it was another community. It was two Indian girls who own a little business, and they just noticed a lot of kids in their neighborhood are hungry. So they started putting a fridge in front of their store and just started putting food in it.
Okay.
And then they said, why don't we put fridges other places?
Yeah.
And now
Where are the visionaries? Where are the Black visionaries?
Actually, do you want me to pull that up real fast before I show you the?
Yeah, let's see what the ladies did.
I tried to find as many people who are doing something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I didn't want it to just be black, white. I was trying to find people who came up with some solution or an answer or an idea. Refrigerators around the city. That's an idea. That could be something as well, because the city government ain't doing shit. Their response to the Temple police officer, the very first Temple police officer being murdered, and by a white guy. But then, of course, when his family visited, 2 kids were shot. And then the very next day, 7 kids were shot. And Philadelphia's answer was, we have to hire another bureaucrat who can be a member to speak in between the police community, the black community, and the city council, and we're going to pay them $240,000 a year. That was their idea. We got to hire another one of us,
right?
And as opposed to West Virginia's idea after the Michigan shooter. West Virginia said, you know what? We're going to let college students exercise their Second Amendment rights on every college campus in our state. Enough denying people their Second Amendment rights on colleges. They passed. West Virginia just passed campus carry. If you're 21 and you're a citizen and you can pass all the background checks and all the legal hoops you got to jump through, you can now carry on a campus. And I think that's based as fuck. Why do I have to walk around a college campus with security guards who are just going to report and observe? And not do anything to save me? I have a video of a guy being beat up by 8 black kids and 2 Temple security guards just stand there and do nothing. I have that video. I'm sorry, I don't mean to go on a tangent.
No. Hey, when I see videos like this, honestly, it shocks me because I am divested and I don't hang like that. So that's not common. That's not, I don't really see it that often. So it really does shock me. But then it doesn't shock me because this is reality.
What's
And so
really
what
fun.
was the security
Go ahead,
guards, were they black too?
One of them was, and they have this small hat tribe who's the member who's the director of security at Temple University. She said, "Now it is a bad look." And they interviewed they interviewed this very heavy Asian girl, and she has her nose up in the air. She says, "I thought I was safe." I'm like, "You're in North Philly. What do you mean you thought? You're not even the school doesn't even allow women to carry mace."
What?
Yes. And that's what I mean by like.
So everybody just be victims. Just be victims, everybody. Just let them do whatever they want to do to you. Just be victims.
And it's your fault. Because Temple last year with $1.4 million in state money from a grant, so taxpayer money, they opened a center for anti-racism. That was their answer. It wasn't to defend the students. I would totally get behind a guy who said, "Okay, that's enough. We're going to hire 5 soldiers on every block. And any person who messes with a student, you're getting smoked. And that's that. And the city can kiss my ass. I'm defending my students." But no one thinks that way. And anytime they talk to the new black president, Jason Wingard of Temple, he always puts the community of Philadelphia above Temple. Every answer he says is, "Well, we have to talk about the community. How's it going to help the community? What is Temple going to do for the community?" And he always, even all his answer was he was going to move on the campus.
Oh, like Jane Byrne did it in like the 70s in Chicago when she moved it to Cabrini Green.
Oh, that white woman, right?
Yeah.
And then they had, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
That's when they used to jump people in the elevators, right?
Yeah. Oh, it was Cabrini Green was the Wild Wild West.
Yo, we got to do an episode of Cabrini Green. I'll just lay back and shut up, and you just tell me about Cabrini Green. That'd be amazing. But here are the ladies with the fridges.
Community fridges aren't exactly new, but you might be surprised at just how many there are across Philadelphia. And for everyone involved, it's a point of community pride. For goodness sake, here's Bill Anderson.
The importance of being able to provide free food in a community that's consistently overlooked by its own powers that be is just absolutely unbelievable.
It's a growing trend that started before coronavirus but has expanded since then. These community refrigerators that are popping up. Basically, people all over the area are just putting refrigerators in various locations and filling them up with food. If you need food, you just come by and take it.
We decided to do this because at the start of the pandemic, we noticed that at least 3 or 4 local.
So here are the two ladies. So I don't know. Indian.
I don't know.
Middle Eastern.
Brown.
But these are the two,
brown,
yeah.
two brown ladies.
Yeah. Two people. I don't know if they're from Philly. I'm okay. If they're from the city, then I'll say, from the community. But usually when I say that, that means they're not black.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they're from Philly or if they just moved into Philly. So I don't know. But these are the ladies who started the fridge thing.
Well, supermarkets just shut down for reconstruction, and it was something that felt like a really badly timed move.
Sonam and Sonia Parikh own Mina's World
Yeah, Parikh.
Cafe in West Philly and started the community fridge outside. But you may be surprised to find out, as I was, as I toured around the city, that these refrigerators are in nearly every section of Philadelphia and many of the surrounding areas and have become a community rallying point.
Yeah, really takes care of the fridge. They really take it upon themselves to be like, oh, we wiped it down today, or I'm bringing all my, I collected 100 grocery bags today for the fridge, and it's really surprising and endearing, honestly.
On this day, I went to many of the approaching 50 refrigerators in Philly. The concept is really simple. Somebody sets up a refrigerator, and then people come together to keep it full for their neighbors in need.
Folks who, like, some weeks take everything from the fridge and other weeks empty their food stamps back into the fridge. Like, all of that are such huge parts of, like, what keeps the fridge going, and also why we know that we have to keep filling it and making sure this is forever a resource.
It's pretty amazing to see places like Mina's World and others across the region quite literally sell their products all day, and then at the end of the day, the same products that didn't sell go right into the fridge. And perhaps it's that commitment to each other, more than just profit, that fuels the success of the community fridge trend.
One of my favorite parts about working at Mina's World and organizing the fridge is that Mina's World becomes like a zero waste cafe, and everything goes right back into the fridge, which goes to somebody in this community, and then we just like start all over again the next day. Yeah.
So the point is, no matter where you are, if you can't afford a meal, check out your community fridge. And if you have more than you need, then maybe fill up a community fridge, because together this trend unites us to solve a very real but mostly avoidable problem, for goodness sake.
Thoughts?
You know what? That is such a sweet idea. I applaud those ladies, because they took like something that is manageable and practical, and they put it out there to help solve a problem that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's sad that these ladies did that, but where's the vision from the community itself?
That's what I mean by another group coming in.
Right.
Like there's
Another
Petite-
group from
Petite-
the outside.
Yeah. And again, like this is the conservative in me. That's the, I get the chub when I see things like this. I like seeing people solve an issue or try, even attempt to try to solve an issue. Wow, there's a lot of hungry people. What can we do? Well, what if we just put fridges everywhere with food? Like that is such a very simple idea. The only thing I would say is I don't think business-wise it's sustainable, because there's always going to be givers and there's always going to be takers. And so I would say they have to find some way, because if they own a business and they're giving away their own food, they're going to be losing money.
Yeah, yeah.
So to me it's an endless pit of money.
It is.
I think it's a good idea. I like that it's happening, and I like that it has support from the community. But again, the answer is, how do they make it sustainable? Because the same people cannot just keep giving money. You would have to have some rich donor that just doesn't mind giving away their life's work or giving away their money. They said they own a business and they give away what they don't sell, but the food they don't sell could be chopped up and used and put back into their business. So that's not a sustainable business market. That's my speaking out from working in restaurants for so long, and I'll give it to you.
Well, I've worked in restaurants too, and I've worked in not just restaurants, but I've worked in a very high-end catering. And there are some foods that, basically at the end of the day, you really can't do anything with. It's either throw it away or, give it to the employees.
Yeah.
And if they can if they, on a small scale, if they can put their, stuff they would throw away anyway, put that in the fridge and people want to come and take it. Okay, fantastic.
Sure.
And then, work it out with the local pantries and things like that to say, hey, can you, can you help, stock these refrigerators?
Can you donate?
But the business model for long term, I don't know, but I think it's a very nice idea. I mean,
Yeah.
Yay for the liberals, thinking of something that's like a really nice, simple idea.
It's a great, yeah. Like they're liberal, absolutely. But
yeah.
But I'm trying to give them credit. This is one of the things I like about people, when they try to solve it themselves.
Yeah.
They don't go, oh, big daddy government. They go, no, what can we do?
Yeah, what can we do that's practical and we can just go ahead and execute it without having to go down to City Hall and try to beg money from this person and that
Yeah.
person?
You don't need a
There's no
fucking permit.
entitlement. Let's just solve a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't need a permit to, man, you
But like I said, in these communities, there is no vision to solve these problems. There's no vision.
When I lived in South Philly, and I used to walk to work, right at 19th and Washington, there was this old black guy who owned this old, like he had a garage. But what he did is he would go around to all the colleges, and when all the Temple and Drexel and UPenn, when all the students would come out and move out, they would throw out all their stuff, and he would refurbish and take a lot of their refrigerators and microwaves, and then he would fix them and sell them for a discount to people in his community. And I thought that was a good idea. Like, yeah, here are these kids who. And it's not just white kids. It's a lot of Asians and Indians and Arabs, people with money whose kids go to school and they leave and their students throw out all this stuff. And then he would just come with a truck, pick up stuff that had been thrown out, fix it and sell it. And I was like, that's a good idea. And he started hiring people to drive and just pick it up himself. And I like that. Like, I like that ability to just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, to see something and just go ahead and execute the plan.
Yeah.
Just do it. Do it.
Yeah. And now he has his own garage and he has a whole junkyard in the back full of stuff that he's fixing and selling. And it's like, and now he employs people. Now there are 5 people who work for him that aren't doing Blackistan shit, like.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the sad story. Now I got to show you what happened after Walter Wallace. This is in 2020.
Alrighty.
A week after looting closed 2 ShopRites in Philadelphia, both of those businesses are back open today. One reopened on Friday. The other is opening this morning. Eyewitness News reporter Dan Koob is live in West Philadelphia with an update. Good morning, Dan.
Do you even like this?
So the riots and everything shut down 2 places, and now they're going to open them back up.
Yeah, but I like this message here. Unrest, but we understand.
Unrest and okay. We understand why you tore everything up. But you worry about a food desert.
Right. That's yeah. Do you think that's more of that coddling you were talking about with the Vice thing?
It's the whole language. It's the language. It's part of the script. It's part of the, we're going to, it's that whole liberal, we're going to forgive you for not doing the best you can do. We're going to forgive you because this is really all you people are really capable of, isn't it? It's the language of oppression, the language. Okay, what else can I say? Because that's what it sounds like to me. The language of oppression. You're so oppressed. The unrest. Okay. But we understand. It's a coddling. And trust and believe somebody's making money off of it too. I'm telling you, the middleman that funnels like whatever money they funnel into these communities are making more money off of it than the money that are actually getting into those communities.
Actually, I might bring up a surprise video for that and ask you a question because I have an example of that in California.
Okay.
Good morning, Jan. That's right. The doors just opened about 3 minutes ago to a line of maybe 25 to 30 patrons who are now inside the ShopRite. You can see the sign here now reopened just a week after looters really destroyed much of it. We just spoke to a gentleman working at Hot Foods. He said about 300 people were helping out in the rebuilding effort. And we also spoke to this morning over the phone the owner of the store, Sandy Brown, who said they never could have imagined within a week's time they'd be able to reopen this store after entire aisles were completely emptied out by looters who damaged the store. They broke down doors, telling me the registers and safes were destroyed. It all had to be rebuilt. All of the self-checkout aisles completely destroyed. Again, they thought it would take a month, but here they are 1 week later, open to the public.
Tragedy hit, the first thought we had, how are people going to get their food the next morning?
You think this is all right? So here he is. So this is the guy you saw.
When tragedy hit, the first thought we had, how are people going to get their food the next morning? How are they going to get their medicine? So we're not going to worry about first if we have insurance, which we do. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to worry about how we get this store open and take care of the people we care about. And here we are.
What do you think about that?
You know what? People like that. I admire people like that. They're like, we're going to take care of business. We're going to take care of the community. The sad part is it's Zaddy coming into a Black community that's got to take care of them. These guys, I swear, these guys are so freaking inadequate to the task. They are so inadequate. They destroy the neighborhood. Somebody comes in and builds this wonderful place that they need to get food. They get mad, throw a hissy fit, go and tear it up. And this man's got to come back because he actually, gives a darn about the community and, rebuilds to help everybody else out because they, it's shocking. I see why sometimes people are like, what, these people are animals.
Oof.
They can't lead themselves out of their own damn pathology.
And you're saying you think that's part of the reason why the divested community came about?
That's exactly part of the reason why the divested community came about, because we looked up and saw that they were leading us all into hell. Okay, we opened our eyes and we saw what was actually happening in our community to our people and who was doing what. And I can't speak about them because, like I said, I just discovered the divestment movement a year ago. But this has been my life, my entire life. And I'm over 60. So I saw a lot of this stuff occur in real time. I saw who was doing what. And I am just so glad that the divested community has come about and there are Black women who see what the deal is. These men have led us into hell.
And I get angry at people who look like me who just excuse it and accept it. You know what I mean?
Because at this point, it's like, here are, racism does exist. I'm not even going to try and pretend it doesn't exist. It does exist.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Yeah.
But then you've got like these liberal people who are looking at Black people in this condescending way. Like do they really believe that like Black people are on the same level as them? Or like when some Black person does something like halfway decent, oh, give them a cookie. Don't just give them a cookie, give them a Nobel Prize. Because it's so, reward the poor brain damaged person because this is all they're capable of. Pat them on the back, pat them on the head. I'm sorry, but a B is not the same as an A. A C is not the same as an A when you're grading people. And a lot of these guys, a lot of these Black men, here's the community. What are men supposed to do? What is the role of a man? To lead, to provide. I mean, traditionally in a patriarchy, that's what we expect men to do. But what do Black men do? Destroy.
Yeah.
And people like me, women who are divested, you know what?
You're done.
We see what the deal is. We're done. We're wiping our hands of it, and we're
You're
saying,
done.
you know what? Good luck to you, because we're out. We're outie.
Here, if I may, this is some of the footage, and then I actually have another video I want to show you of another person who came up with a way to solve a problem and what the government did to that person.
Around the country have seen images of brazen and violent looting in the Philadelphia area. Now, members of various communities are left to reflect on all of that. Action News reporter Dan Quayle.
Even in that, didn't you think that was just like a hand wave?
Oh, you know, and I'm looking at these people who did all of this looting. Why? Why did you go into your own neighborhoods, and destroy vital resources that you need that you don't even provide?
Well, I know why it happened in Philadelphia. It was because of Walter Wallace. It was the shooting of Walter Wallace. I can do a whole presentation on that. I don't want to do that right now, but that's the reason it happened in Philly. But here, let me show you.
It's live at 52nd in Parkside. Make that 52nd and Jefferson in Parkside. And Dan, you've got that story.
That's right, Jim. Using sledgehammers, axes, and bolt cutters, looters targeted a number of businesses here in Parkside and West Philadelphia. The shop right here was destroyed. The owner says not only did they take merchandise, they smashed all of their computers, cash registers, and cameras.
Is your neighborhood ShopRite?
Disgusted resident Rashawn Howard toured the devastation inside the Parkside ShopRite and posted this Facebook rant.
I need somebody to please explain to me how this represents getting justice for George Floyd. And you want to know why they're not putting supermarkets in Black neighborhoods. This is why.
Jeff Brown says he felt helpless over what was happening to his store.
We called the police, and the police they were unable to come for 15 hours.
Police were unable to come because a large portion of them was down at City Hall defending the mayor and the city council. And they were fully decked out in riot gear too. They weren't carrying rifles, but they were carrying the long ass billy clubs that you can hold with like the 3-4 footers.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pushing people back from City Hall. So that's what I imagine is one of the reasons is they didn't have enough police officers.
And they looted for 15 hours straight through the night to the next day.
A number of businesses in Parkside and West Philadelphia were targeted by looters. By chance today, police in Colwyn got a tip that a lot of the stolen merchandise could be found in an apartment in the 300 block of Main Street in the borough. Sure enough, they recovered an estimated $5,000 to $10,000 in merchandise.
We would like to have some of the owners that believe that this may be their items come forward and give us some information.
Former police superintendent Mike Chitwood, who recently retired after 55 years in law enforcement, says sadly some of these neighborhoods will not recover. He understands why protesters seeking justice want change.
Rightfully so. It's these morons, these idiots, these criminals, these sadistic animals that are destroying the fabric of our society.
Still, he believes police need to do a better job and work with communities for change. Finally, Jeff Brown says he plans to rebuild his store in Parkside and the one in North Philadelphia because he says the community needs access to food.
And I really believe we need a bigger presence of the National Guard. And I want to get my stores reopened, but to be honest with what's going on today, we need the protection of the National Guard.
Well, his wish has come true. The Pennsylvania National Guard is now stationed outside the ShopRite and the Park West Town Center.
And I pause here because this is what it took.
That's shameful.
It took, and
That's
I hate playing the lefty game, but you got black. So here's your black representation, or they might be Indian. I don't know what race these are, but they're dark skinned. So this is what it took to to protect this Walmart. It took men with rifles.
That's shameful. That's shameful, and they need it.
Yeah, it's a ShopRite. I don't.
I mean, they literally they need this to have accessible food, but they're so angry that they'll destroy what they need. Like I said, it happened here in Chicago, on the west side of Chicago. There are blocks and blocks and blocks of desolation that was never rebuilt.
Here, I think I got one more for you. I'm gonna show you this one. So this was a guy. I guess I don't know if you call him a zaddy. I mean, you might. But do you follow Stossel, John Stossel?
No.
Will sleep in
Tell me-
tent cities.
Tell me what you think.
He's crowding the palm-lined boulevard of Los Angeles.
This guy found an answer, in my opinion, and then the city just took it away from him.
But a struggling musician from South LA thought he had a creative temporary fix. He crowdfunded $100,000 and built dozens of solar-powered tiny houses to shelter the homeless. But on the morning city officials were gathering to celebrate their new nearly $1 billion plan to end homelessness, police and garbage were descending on the tiny homes, ordered by the city to seize and destroy them.
Why?
Because he solved the problem.
So they'd rather have people living in tents or just on the sidewalk instead of at least in some kind of structure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, have you seen this before?
No.
This is reason I believe this was before John Stossel left, but John Stossel does his own thing now. I don't know if he's centrist. He's further right now. Like he used to be all against guns, but now he's all for guns. But I don't know if he's not with them anymore. But check this out. Let me tell me what you think. I'm just, again, I appreciate your input. I'm just always curious, what you think.
Los Angeles, emergency in the country's second largest city.
Problem that's spinning out of control.
Reaching crisis proportions.
Prepare to shelter crisis as the city is overwhelmed by a spike in the homeless population.
Homeless camps are seen everywhere.
He's been living on the sidewalk here for the past 30 years.
What is behind this homeless crisis in LA?
Here in the entertainment capital of the world, over half the homeless population will sleep on the streets tonight, far more than in any other American city. There are 28,000 homeless people in just the city of Los Angeles, and the number has hit new record highs in each of the past few years.
And the immigrants keep coming, but then they can't explain why there's more homeless people, and they can't explain.
But LA Mayor
We don't understand. Oh, we need more money. We need more fun. We just don't understand.
Eric Garcetti has a plan.
This is a bold step forward today for Los Angeles.
Yeah, see?
A year ago, I'll be blunt, the city council and the mayor weren't working together on this.
Garcetti introduced a funding proposal in February that would devote nearly $2 billion over the next decade to getting all LA residents off the streets once and for all. But at the time of Garcetti's announcement,
So a 10-year plan. A 10-year, $2 billion plan. But then this washed-up musician comes along.
Dozens of homeless people had already found shelter in the form of solar-powered tiny houses dispersed throughout the neighborhoods of South LA and beyond.
In Los Angeles, a growing movement is having a big impact.
It's an innovative effort to help the homeless.
Giving homes to the homeless.
They were built by a self-described struggling musician named Elvis Summers.
I got involved with building tiny houses.
I'll ask because this is fun. Thoughts? Is he a zaddy?
He's a zaddy.
He's a zaddy?
He's a zaddy. He is.
Building homes for homeless people. Is he a zaddy?
Oh, yes, he is. That is a zaddy.
Okay. When I was a teenager, I'd be into the Mohawk, but okay.
This because of a woman named Smokey. She's 62 years old, lives in my neighborhood, and as I got to know her, realized that she was sleeping in the dirt. And
I saw this. I saw this
In
guy.
his 20s,
Yeah.
Summers was homeless.
Well, did you know they took all his homes? The city?
Wow.
For stretches of time himself. Now the 39-year-old
Let's see why.
is trying to help his neighbors who have fallen on hard times.
Some other
And I like what he did. There are other people that could use homes. And where did he go? He went to a church, and the church said, yeah.
Homeless people came by and asked if I could build them one. I didn't have the money, so I figured let me try one of these crowdfunding things I've seen out there. I mean, it blew my mind. I mean, I think I passed 50,000 in the first week. Total, I've raised over 100,000.
Summers has built tiny homes for nearly 40 people, aided by professional contractors and other volunteers who sign up to help through his nonprofit, Starting Human. Each house costs roughly $1,200 for materials.
The houses I build have carpet, 2 windows, a steel reinforced door, smoke detector. It's got a solar panel on the roof, powers 2 light bulbs, and the battery pack has a USB port on it to charge your cell phone.
What do you think about that?
Wow. Look at this practical guy.
It's not a happy story.
Which is huge. An address, American flag.
Summers also equips each of the 6 by 10 foot
American flag. He's a terrorist.
houses with a camping toilet and even
FBI coming now.
window alarms. He says they were never meant to be a permanent solution, but unlike
We put a security system in the house. Oh my God.
sleeping on the sidewalk or in a tent, his tiny houses provide the secure foundation residents need to improve their lives.
The tiny houses provide immediate shelter. The houses I build are very sturdy and safe. People can lock their stuff up and know that when they come back from their drug treatment program or a court or finding a job all day, that their stuff is where they left it.
I got my resumes, my shower stuff. Want to not be homeless. Want to order pizzas in my own home. I want a DVD player, man.
Sorry.
But as Summers was building houses, anger in the community over growing street homelessness was reaching a boiling point early this year.
These homes were nothing more than a detriment to mine and my neighbors' homes, families, and children. And they created a sense of terror in the residents.
Nestled within dour tent shantytowns, Summers' tiny houses became brightly colored targets for residents who want the homeless out of their backyards.
Where do you stand on that?
So they would rather have them just on the street in a tent than at least in that kind of a structure, because they're still not going anywhere, right?
No. They have a 10-year plan.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess we got to wait for that plan to come to fruition instead of having people out of the rain right now.
Remember when you said vision?
Yeah.
They'll point out who some of these black and I think there's some Asian and white, whoever these LA city council, whoever these heartless people are. Why couldn't one of the council members hire this guy?
Yes.
Hey, why don't you?
This guy's got a practical vision.
Yeah, like, well, you'll see. He did it all. This is annoying.
They had the children walking in the middle of the street and not on the curbside when they're going over the overpass.
Most of the people clapping for her.
of Summers' tiny houses were placed on private land that's been donated to the project, such as a parking lot outside a convenience store and a church in Compton.
Yeah, see? So a church stepping up, you know, the meek shall inherit the earth, and, you know, valuing life. That's, you know, the Christian thing, the Protestant thing. Yeah.
Handful replaced the tents that have proliferated on freeway overpasses.
They're not right in front of a business. They're not in front of somebody's house, and the sidewalks are extra wide. So, it's.
So he heard the complaints and he did something about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He said, oh, okay. You're scaring the kids. Oh, yeah. Oh, the kids, they got to walk on the sidewalk. Okay. So he went to a church and businesses are like, yeah, they can live here.
Seemed, as far as public places.
I'm still going to carry around a bunch of people I don't know, but, they have the right to have a home.
This is the safest, best place to be until I could get land.
You could have hired this guy to build homes for immigrants, right? Like, I don't think they're seeing the big picture here. If they're a sanctuary city, this guy could build homes for immigrants, right?
And he's building them at an extremely affordable price. I mean, hell, I would much rather have that structure that he's got than a freaking tarp.
Yeah, or a tent. Yeah. And that's just something he thought. And he's like, oh, okay, we can build it this size. I'm sure if he had more money, he could think of something else.
Sure.
He could make a duplex. He could make a double. I don't know. Like, this was just one idea.
Land and then take them and put them on property, building a small community.
But LA viewed the houses as a nuisance.
Yeah, and you see that other people working for him and helping him. Oh, jobs. He made jobs.
Take them and put them on property, building a small community.
But LA viewed the houses as a nuisance. In February, the city council amended a sweeps ordinance to allow the tiny houses to be seized without prior notice.
To be seized.
On the morning of the 9th, police and garbage trucks descended, towing 3 of the houses to a Bureau of Sanitation lot for disposal.
My phone just blows up by everybody on 42nd Street, just freaking out. Like, they're throwing us out of the houses. They're telling us they're taking them. Like, what do we do? I mean, they wouldn't let them get their clothes or their medications. They threw them out, left them on the sidewalk. I pleaded with them. I was like, okay, well, look, they have wheel locks on them. Let me unlock the wheels at least, so you don't break them. No, they refused. They just wanted to take them and destroy them.
Summers managed to move 8 of the threatened houses into storage before they were confiscated, but their residents had nowhere to go.
I had to evict 2 veterans who paid their ticket. They shouldn't be homeless, period. Just, I get angry. They did their service. They gave up their dreams so the rest of us can be out here and be a bunch of assholes. There needs to be some respect.
Our community was so negatively impacted by these structures that many of us come together to get them removed. We called Councilman Price's office because we needed him to do something about it.
I don't think living in that box is the alternative to having some housing.
Kern Price is the...
What do you think of that?
But it's better than nothing. Look at oh my God, that woman, and this guy. So you'd rather have them have nothing because they're not going anywhere. If you take away the tent or the house or the anything, they're not going anywhere. They're still going to be in your neighborhood doing whatever the hell they're doing. You'd rather have them in your neighborhood with, living under a tarp and shitting on the sidewalk than at least in this little tiny box that's, you know what? I grew up in the United Methodist Church. And so when I see somebody who does that kind of practical act of charity, it warms my heart. And when I see that kind of callousness that says, you know what, we just want you to disappear and we're going to make it as hard for you as possible. That's to me, that's evil. That's devilment.
Yeah. It's perfect word. I wanted to take a quick second. And I wanted to refer back to Psychology 101, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I was just talking about that today.
Shelter.
Yes.
The base, the bottom rung for people to feel psychologically fit is shelter. And I don't know if it's charity. I don't know if it started off as charity, but the guy did something and then he said, oh, I can help one person. I can help someone else. And then it just started happening. And then they took it.
If I remember this story correctly, because I saw this guy's story with this woman, Smokey. She was a homeless person that was living out like where he lived or something like that. And he just, he did her a turn. He helped her out. And I guess, that helped him to have this vision, and he tried to spread it in a very practical way.
Yeah.
That's somebody
and then a church. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go for it. Preach,
No. That, look, I got admiration for people who are practical, who have a vision, who want to improve their environment. I got nothing but admiration for that. They're not looking around saying, somebody please come and do this. They're doing it themselves.
Yeah. That's part of the reason I respect the black dude on the Vice article. It's like, I see a similarity. But that's why I asked the question about the script, because if he really is the type of person who looked in himself and said, I have to do this, we have to do this, would Vice really have interviewed him and they said, oh, you have to say this and oh, you have to say that, wouldn't he just say, nah, I built one, I can build two?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
he built one. Okay, great. That could be a shining example. Now, let's go ahead and expand it.
yeah. Right. That's why I questioned the whole thing. I was like, he can plant more trees. There's another lot right across the street. Now they could have two. They could make a whole block and they could start a Black Farmers Association. Do you know how much money that shit would get? Especially today.
Right. They would have so much support to do something like that. There is money out there. There's a lot of money out there.
Yeah.
I mean, believe it or not, there's a lot of money out there, for different situations. You just have to know how to access it. But they built this one lot. Okay, great, fabulous. We love it. But we need more.
Yeah. There's no reason he could not have 10 lots at the end of a year. No reason.
Right.
All right. I'll keep going.
Okay.
Is the alternative to having some housing.
Kern Price is the LA City Councilman who represents the district where the houses were located and who ordered the seizures.
My main objections to the tiny houses, I really want to call them houses. They're really just boxes. They're multicolored boxes.
They're just boxes.
Yeah, but he lives in a house, right?
Of course he does.
Okay.
It's the disconnect. He don't care. He don't give a fuck.
Is that they're safe? They're not safe, and that they impose real hazards for other neighbors in the community.
So is this just NIMBY?
That's just a whole bunch of haterade BS. That's what that is. I'm like, okay, you don't like the houses. You don't like the little tiny boxes that they're living in, right? But what's your alternative?
Right.
What's your alternative?
And the church was letting people live there.
So
being
the
a church.
didn't mind.
Yeah.
I mean, if these private businesses, these private places are saying it's okay for you to place one or two or whatever on our property, and they don't mind.
Yeah.
What's the harm?
Yeah, I don't.
It's like we're doing something, but what we're actually doing is creating more havoc and destruction. That's what the government over there looks like they're doing. Like, we've got a plan, that won't come to fruition for 10 years and has all of this money. But for right now, we're just going to make everything worse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Neighborhoods that are concerned about all of that, their property values, and tiny houses and homeless people in their neighborhood have every right, period, to be pissed off. And I completely agree with them. But, you're misdirecting your anger. Direct it to the powers that be that are supposed to be doing their job. My whole issue and cause is that something needs to be done right now until permanent housing does come available.
I think just a temporary fix is a false sense of security, as would the tent be, without any real supportive services.
But to homeless people who had escaped tents and moved into the tiny homes, the security they provided seemed anything but false. After the city's sweep, they were forced once again to call the sidewalk home.
I've been homeless like 2 years.
One of the guys, Willie, who's an engineer who I gave the Red House to, he used to have it right here.
In the house, you feel secure because you lock your door.
After Willie Hadnot's house was seized by the city, he went back to living in a tent above the 110 freeway.
I try to cover it up, as much as I can, but as you take and cut it with a razor blade, it's not too much security you have at all. It's coming. You know that they really don't care for you too much. They said, first thing the officer told me, he said, well, get a job. I said, can you help me get one? I'm willing to work. It's not really all in those jobs for a 59-year-old man, I'm 59 years old.
59?
Willie is...
Yeah.
Damn.
ex-engineer. He loves kids. He loves tinkering with things.
And I have a little platform, like a little stand for it that I built to put this on it. It's a little wooden toy, man. But you know, some kids would love to have this, man. And I got this out of dumpster, which I really don't like to say, but I do go dumpster diving.
A few days after I gave him his house, he pulled me aside and basically, I mean, he just told me that like he was so low and there's just no hope. And he basically he was giving up and he was contemplating ending his life. Finally getting hope, there's a chance, you know, maybe I can turn this around. And then just, you know, having someone come and suck it away from you.
Yeah, there's that Christian charity,
I
huh?
put a lot into it.
What's up?
I said there's that Christian charity. You know, you'd rather have the homeless and just exposed to the elements, shitting on the sidewalk, instead of at least a little something, a little box.
You mean this guy?
Yeah, that guy's a piece of work. That guy's going to hell.
But you're saying this guy has the Christian charity?
I'm saying, you know, the little young zaddy with the mohawk, that's the Christian charity. The black guy, that guy's going to hell.
Oh, the councilman and the councilwoman and
Both
all of them.
They're going to hell.
I hope they do.
They're going to hell.
I hope it burns for eternity.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my,
and you know, frequently the response is, well, I don't want to go to the shelter. I just want to stay here on the street.
There are a fraction of shelter space to how many people are homeless, but otherwise the shelters are dirty. It's dangerous in there. The food is not good. It's got bed bugs. You can't go with a girlfriend, pets, or any of your personal items.
I'm not suggesting that the shelters are the answer. It obviously is a temporary step, an alternative step. I think it's a better step, you know, than someone sleeping on a sidewalk under a bench or on a bench. I think the way you make it better is having some kind of coordinated services, you know, where you can refer people to the kind of assistance they need, as opposed to giving them a structure, letting them think that they've got it, that they're okay now because they're sitting in a little box, and that their problems are going to be solved.
You go out and spend, you know, many nights on the street and be treated as a monster, and then be given, you know, a warm place to stay, and tell me you're not going to call it a home. When the city took those 3 houses, they chose to do it at the exact same time that the council and the mayor were at City Hall unveiling the mayor's new homeless $1.87 billion plan.
This is an important policy statement, and I think it's going to provide us with a roadmap in a variety of areas. We are beginning to make a difference, and a difference that is long overdue.
We've identified some action items, and working closely with the county, and so we're working really in collaboration in ways that we haven't before. We have identified a need to come with some funds, a specific number of some funding for a prolonged period of time.
Everything that they have been doing, and you know, doesn't work. It's just years of circles and, you know, bureaucratic holds and wait times, and you know, like, I would like them to care. 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, where's all the housing?
Mayor Garcetti's plan focuses on permanent supportive housing, aiming to build 10,000 units for homeless families over the next decade. But in the meantime, LA is taking funds away from temporary shelters.
The tiny houses are, you know, a cheap effect.
I don't know how that works either. How do they propose to build? So they have to take the money away from the shelters to build the homes?
Yeah, what's with that?
That's what I just heard, right?
It's just, you know what? It's just cruelty. That's what it is. It's just malicious cruelty. They're not trying to help anybody. They're just shuffling paper around, collecting money, you know, padding their own, you know, pockets, making themselves feel better, but they're not actually doing anything. As a matter of fact, they are agents of chaos. They would rather have these people have less than nothing than have a crumb, so that when finally they can figure something out and provide a little something, well then, you know, how long later?
Yeah, that's like people
How long later? You know, oh, now we're going to come in and we're going to save you after we've set up these situations for you to suffer for so long, and then you'll be grateful. You know, I'm not a liberal. I'll tell you that right now. Not at all. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. What I am is a working class boomer. And I like practical solutions. And if this temporary house, this box, whatever it is, helps you until something better comes along, well, then God bless.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about this, and I was just trying to we were trying to like talk about like what was an answer, and this person kept talking about money, 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 and I was saying, well, I said, they were like, oh, so you just want to cold turkey cut it off, and I said, well, you can't solve a problem by just throwing more money at it. There has to be some sort of, you're not creating a situation for people to actually change and better themselves. You're allowing them to continue just absorb your money. And that money has to come from somewhere. And essentially, the more money you give one person, the more money, it's a zero-sum game. The more money, it's like I had this conversation with a family member. We were talking, here, let me pull this up. Have you heard of the Blue Oval City?
Mm-mm.
And I'll end out on that, and then that's all right, because I got dogs and stuff. But let me see, maybe I can find it. So, person was all about immigration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, we're we need immigrants, and we gotta let in millions of people, and they deserve to be here, and and I was like, what are you talking about? And I decided to use the situation. So the Blue Oval City, yeah. So this is going to be the Blue Oval City in Memphis, Tennessee, and just like Atlanta just built that the largest police training barracks.
Mm-hmm.
So Ford has decided to give Memphis, Tennessee $5.5 billion. They want to build, I think it's the largest factory in the country that would create batteries. They would create the batteries for all of the new hybrid cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that you would not need a college degree to work here. They could train you, and then you could get a job working in this factory. So like an old school company town, like back in the 1800s, and like Hershey, Pennsylvania was.
Right. Yeah.
Like old school company. So industry.
Yeah.
Bringing industry back to the Rust Belt. And I was talking to this person, and I was like, Memphis is the 9th most dangerous city in the world. 65% of the population of Memphis is black, and they're experiencing a food desert, and this and that, and police everything. And they were like, yeah. And I said, and this place could create 6,000 new jobs. And they were like, yeah. And I said, so who gets the jobs? Should the black community get them, or should immigrants get them? And now suddenly they don't want to talk about it anymore.
Mm.
And it's like, I said, who are you? I said, you have to make a choice. And the state of Tennessee is going to give Memphis another $500 million.
Wow.
And this was threatened when remember Ezekiel Kelly?
Yeah.
He went on the shooting spree.
Mm-hmm.
And he shot, I think, like 7 people, and he killed 3. And when he, I believe, threatened Ford with talking to the mayor, and they were like, "Look, man, you got to handle your shit. We're not gonna be investing. We're not gonna invest in Memphis if our people can't be safe,
Mm-hmm.
And I was just curious, like, how,
You know what? They're going to need their own police force. I can tell you that. They're going to need their own private police force because the police force down in Memphis is corrupt as hell.
Oh, you're talking about the Scorpion Squad. That lady did Red Dog in Atlanta, right? The police chief in the 90s.
You know, so okay, they that's amazing that they're going to build that, but they're going to need their own police, the private police force, because Memphis is a sewer. Memphis is a poor ass city, and it's a sewer. So, but they need the jobs down there. Those people are so underemployed, or just they just don't. They're either unemployed or underemployed. It's so poor down there. I've been to Memphis. My brother-in-law owns a business in Nashville, and so I went over to Memphis to check it out because I'm thinking, oh yeah, barbecue, Memphis, right? I get over there, I'm like, this is a pit. These are some poor ass people. So yeah, they need it down there, but I don't know if they're going to hire immigrants or the local Black population, or just have people come from all over the country looking for jobs in that area. That's going to be a huge boost to the economy, putting billions of dollars in the economy, because those people are going to need housing and everything else that goes with it, like the old company towns, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's fair to give it to immigrants. That's not fair.
I don't think so either. It should go to the local population.
Yeah, like these people were here first. Why the fuck do you get the same opportunity when you just? No, that's not fair to me.
Okay, and I'm gonna say something that is like, okay, this is from a divestor's point of view.
Oh, go ahead.
So this gonna be a little bit mean.
Oh, go ahead.
I hope that they give the jobs to the local population, but let's see how the local population is able to handle those jobs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm conservative in aspect, I wish people would be able to be given the opportunity and prove that they could handle the opportunity.
Yeah.
But I'm enough of a realist that it's like you said, like they're going to need their own police force.
They are going to need their own police force.
Did you hear that?
The police force is corrupt.
Were you on that? Did you hear the show on DZ when there was a girl talking about in Atlanta they're trying to build a new mental institution, and they've had to push it back, opening it because people kept going inside of it and stealing everything?
Yes.
They stole the they stole the thing that they do the heart rate on that wheels over.
Yeah.
And now they have armed security because they stole everything out of it. The TVs, the monitors, the tables, the copper. Like I think this takes a lot of vision, but I also think that sometimes people can also be all light in our shadow.
Yes.
They're like, oh wow, there's all this crime. Well, what'll happen? Well, we'll just build a factory. And you're right. They're not. I don't know. It's like they don't want to. Do you think they know? Do you think maybe they plan on having armed security? They're just not talking about it?
They're just not talking about it. But if they've got any sense, look, they've got the vision to build this. They know what they're going to have to deal with. They know they're going to have some kind of reliable security. That's the cost of doing business. They know it. They're just not, they may not be saying it right now because they're like, let's look at all the pretty stuff, but don't look at the nuts and bolts minutia.
Yeah.
But they're going to need their own police force. And you see it in these different areas. Look, I can say over in Chicago, okay. We've got the University of Chicago, which makes up a huge part of Hyde Park, which is a wonderful neighborhood in Chicago, really diverse neighborhood, wonderful neighborhood. And they have their own police force because they know. They're gonna do their own privacy. You can't depend on the Memphis cops. Those cops are corrupt as hell. And it's a shame because I like cops. Okay. I like that whole law and order thing. I like that. But those cops are corrupt. Look at the hiring guidelines that they lowered for them.
Yeah, I heard that they had to for diversity. Then
Yeah, for
and
the
the same
sake of
thing's happening in
diversity.
London. Same thing's
Yeah.
happening in London. 50% of the police force have to be black by next year. And I'm finding out that there are candidates now who can't even read or speak English.
I am not impressed with what's going on over in England. There is a guy, a black guy in England, who somehow he got his PhD, and I think he's got a position at Cambridge. And this guy, he said he was functionally illiterate or up until like kind of like an advanced age. And so they're putting this guy up there and they're saying, oh, look at this. He was able to come up so far and do. I'm like, really? What kind of a grading curve do you have? That this guy, is this guy really qualified? What kind of a grading curve, that this guy who was illiterate suddenly has a PhD and is teaching things on race relations because the standards are so low. It's a grift.
We'll have to
It's a grift.
I'll have to pull up sometime the local community college where I live and how it's just teaching people to hate themselves. They're feeding into the whole thing. That's a shame. I have a client, been trying to get him to do an interview with me for the longest time and bring in syllabus and material, but he's afraid. He doesn't want to put himself out there.
I haven't been to college in 35 years. That's when I finished up. But from what I understand, the atmosphere has really, really changed. Because I remember when I was in school and I took a class, and my professor basically said, hey, look, I like your writing style. I like this. I like that. But you need to work on the basics and you need to go to the writing lab and you need to do this or I'm not going to give you a decent grade.
Wow.
There was no, oh, I understand, blah, blah, blah. No, he was like, no, you need to meet the mark. You need to meet the requirement. There was no lowering everything down so I could so they could have this black woman, in this because the field that I was in, it was I was a history major and I specialized in the history of North Africa and the Middle East. And so it was me.
Oh wow. So the Barbary slave trade.
Yeah. And so wherever I went and whenever I took these classes, I was it. That's how I ended up going to the American University of Beirut. But nobody lowered the standards for me. They were like, no, you better hit the mark or you're going to wash out.
Wow.
And I understand, but from what I understand now, everything has been like downgraded. Oh, as long as you use the correct language and, so we can have these lovely tokens that look like we're doing so much. No, it didn't used to be like that. It was like, pull your act together, hit the mark, or you're gone. Now it's like, oh, look, she wiped her butt the right way. Yay!
I'll have to after you we'll have to hit Chicago next time, and after that we'll pick the next topic. I'll have to cover the local community college sometime. It's I'm not sending my kids there. Fuck that. My wife went to school with friends who don't want to have children because they're white.
What?
Yeah,
What's wrong with being white?
they're convinced they're evil.
Oh, give me a break. You know what? Give me a
I'm being
freaking break.
I'm being 100% serious. I was at one of my wife's friends got married, and we went to it was a Greek wedding, and I wish more white people were like the Greeks. They have no shame. They are full of pride. They have powerful family, powerful church. The Greek Orthodox Church is based AF. You have to be sponsored to be a part of the church. You have to be from the community. There's such a powerful family connection. And her husband was talking to me about the dances that these people do. And they're like, well, actually, that's all watered down. You see, back when the Greek island was attacked by the Ottomans in the 9th century, this is what the dance actually represents. It's a battle cry of our victory. I was like, wow, that's amazing. When you talk to him and then you talk to all of my wife's friends from college, it is like night and day. And I'm so happy he married one of her friends because he pulled her head out of her ass. And he was like, I'm not marrying you if you have this attitude. Our children are not evil. We're not doing that. That's not happening. Let me tell you something. We live in America. My family came here and and they do this. And I have family in Greece and we're not going to go back home and they're not going to be ashamed. And that's not happening. So,
One day, maybe I'll do a live thing and I'll have you come on because I want to talk about the way white people in America have taken their own history and thrown it away. And now so many of them are just lost. Instead of clinging on to that Irish heritage, French heritage, German heritage, you know what I mean? Now they're just this kind of bland, generic white, and they're searching. And it to me, it's sad. It's sad that they don't recognize their own heritage just because they want to be like this kind of bland white person in America.
Well,
Like, where is your heritage, honey?
I've used your example of
Mhm.
what you did with your son to El Salvador. And I told that to my wife and my parents. And I said, look, the only way whatever's happened to you and your friends, like my wife's friends, I said, the only way that's not going to happen is if our kid can never be around it. That's the only way.
That's it.
She has to be, there has to be a value on an education, and we have to be involved every step of the way. And we have to decide where she's going to go to school, what she's going to learn, who's going to teach her, what they're going to teach her. And I said, maybe if she gets older, like she's in high school, if we want to talk about certain things, we can do that. I said, but she just needs a basic foundation and basic education. And honestly, I don't really give a fuck about certain topics, and I don't really care.
Well, it's a lot of weird stuff happening in the schools, and Congress, the House just passed that bill that's going to go nowhere.
The parent safety bill.
Right. And, and because these schools have gotten out of control with the bullshit that they want to teach kids. It's like, can you teach my kid math? Can you teach my kid to read? Can you teach, I don't want my kid, this other stuff, it doesn't belong.
You mean the CRT and the gender spectrum?
No, keep that bullshit. I don't even know when I was coming up, I didn't know half the time if my teachers were married, single. I knew nothing about them. I just knew this is Mrs. So-and-so, whether she was married or not, she was always Mrs. Or this is, Mr. So-and-so. All this personal weird shit that they're teaching. You can't teach cursive, but you can teach about your pronouns.
Somebody made a funny comment about the Irish parade. Did you hear about the hate hoax or the hate? So the Irish parade, they were throwing bananas at people on one of the floats, and there's this black family who claimed that they wrote the N-word on the banana and threw it at them. And I don't know if that's true.
It wasn't here in Chicago because we love St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day, we're all Irish.
I don't know if it's true or not. I don't have video of I don't know if it's true or not, but somebody just made the comment that was funny. They said, "Wow, you're all upset about this banana being thrown at you, but you had a pride parade a month ago where they were throwing dildos at kids." It's like, you guys really
Hello.
need to get your fucking shit together. And
You know,
that was all. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. That's just
Yeah.
one of the things that just enrages me, like the crap that they do with kids. But now you're so delicate. You give me, yeah, yeah. Give me
But
a break.
I want to say it's been fun and I appreciate it. Would you think next Wednesday at 9, would that work?
Next Wednesday,
something like
yeah. You
that?
know what? Next Wednesday sounds good.
All right. And you want to hit Food Desert Chicago?
I will. You know what? I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna do a little bit of research. So I have like some. Now I'm just like pulling like crap out of this brain of mine, this old toasted brain of mine. I actually have some facts and stuff that I can cite
whatever.
for you.
I can give, however you want to present it, whatever you want to do. It'd be fun.
This is so much fun. You don't even know. This is so much fun to me.
I hope it is fun. I'm just trying to, just trying to reach out into the ether of the dark internet and just try to find, just try to create the echo chamber you want, right?
Well, you know what? I'm here to learn. I'm here to express myself, and I'm here to learn. I don't want to just hear an echo chamber, but I also have to limit how much BS I can like listen to.
Sure.
But I am here to learn. I'm here to expand my mind. That's how I even found out about that divestment movement. I thought I was just an outlier.
Yeah, that's I told you that's what I'm so fascinated about. But that's what I wish more of my people would learn about, like how the women in your community are just like, you know what? We should value our lives. We deserve better than this. That's part of what I'm trying to learn.
Be safe. Be safe for your own sake. Politics be damned. Be safe for your own sake.
Yeah. Provide, protect, problem solve. And yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, here, it was nice talking. I gotta hit the I gotta get ready for work. I'm second shift, so
Okay.
it was fun and I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you next Wednesday.
I'll talk to you next Wednesday.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.